So, welcome to yet another episode of Vārtalāap. It is the 38th episode, the last one of this year. So, how are you doing, Emma? We have with us
Um,
Emma, the visual artist, which I personally liked your art very much. So, yeah, let's begin. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be a part of this.
Yeah.
How
So,
you
like,
doing?
where are you? Oh, yeah, I'm good. Where are you from? Because, yeah, you said South Africa, and it's a bit like I don't know many people from there. So yeah, how's your experience been?
Yeah, it's been good. So I'm from Pretoria, South Africa. I did spend a few years around Cape Town, like when I was studying, and now I've moved back to Pretoria for a little bit. So yeah, it's quite cool. It's definitely very different, I think, from like a lot of other places. But yeah, I really like it here.
So yeah, did you like travel here for the degree of sorts, or like you are from here originally?
I'm from here originally, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
I mean, it is like a city of sorts. I had seen the photos of it.
Of where I studied.
No, of the city.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretoria's got all the like purple flowers, the jacarandas. That's sort of like we known as the jacaranda city.
Yeah. So like there is a show which you are doing, the Emma show. We'll get into it a bit later. But like, how did you start in this visual arts stuff?
Um, I guess it's something I've always been doing. Like when I was younger, I always just used to draw and that kind of thing. And then throughout school, I had art as a subject, and then obviously like the more I went through it, the more I was like, oh, I actually really enjoy this. Um, and yeah, I think my animation actually started. I don't know if you ever had a Nintendo,
Yeah, I've
but
heard
there
about it.
was like, yeah, so there was this one app. It was called Flipnote, a little orange frog. So I was probably like, I don't know, 10 or 11 when I started animating on that, just like frame by frame. Like you just draw things. So I really enjoyed that. And like obviously at the time I like didn't think I'd ever do anything with it, but it was something that I liked to do. Um, and then yeah, after school I studied visual communication design, which is basically graphic design. Um, so I think that's when I really like kind of found a lot more direction and like actually started taking it seriously and decided like this is definitely what I want to do. Um, so yeah, and now here I am doing it.
So like, you are doing a degree in illustrations, but like, how is it different from the painting and the major art stuff? And like all this different, like how are you able, the second question is, how are you able to do that many different designs?
I think what's different. So I actually did two degrees. So the first one was the graphic design stuff. So that was a lot of like sort of branding and logo design and like that kind of thing. Very much for like the like advertising, like marketing world. Um, so you learn a lot of those skills. So I think through that, like I started understanding like all the different like approaches to design and like all of the sort of technical and like formal like requirements and stuff for like the industry. And then after that, I did my honors in illustration. So this I would say is more similar to like normal like sort of art stuff, like a fine arts degree kind of thing. We had different modules. So we had like scientific illustration, and we did like conceptual narratives, we did like books and stuff. So I think because what I studied covered so much, I've like taken like my favorite like little pieces of the things that I learned there, and I'm kind of now putting it all together to sort of, you know, define my style, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I saw your Behance work, and like it's uh, crazy for me personally of how a person can like switch to so many different art styles. And like
Thank you.
this yeah, this one for example, is it is the screen like visible to you?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, tell me, like we'll go through your art like one at a time. So yeah, tell me about this one. Like, what was the? I guess it was a commission project, right?
Yes. So this was someone like a mutual sort of connection, like someone I knew. They had someone asking if they knew anyone that could sort of do this type of style, and then my friend recommended me, and then I got to chatting to this person, and they were looking for a very like comic book style, you know, sort of like Marvel, like old school, like comic kind of vibe. So what was really nice about this project is the lady that I was working for, she had the whole story planned out already. So it was for her husband's birthday. So she knew, like, she had the whole story like scripted, and gave me like a lot of different like reference photos of the family and the sort of scenes and everything. And then we kind of worked on it together, where she gave me quite a lot of freedom, which was nice. So I'd do like a rough sort of sketch and send it through and say like, what do you think of this? And in that way, it was quite collaborative. And yeah, I was looking at a lot of the like Superman comics and stuff quite closely as like a stylistic reference. And yeah, I just drew it on my iPad, and then she got it printed out on like one sheet, and then got it framed. So it was a really cool project to work on.
Okay. And like there is a question like I particularly want to ask you, like how do you approach creativity? But like first I should ask like how did you approach like designing this? Because as you said, you had the story and all. And like the faces, for example, did you just see the pictures and like try to match it? And what's the flow of your design style which you followed in this particular project?
Um, okay, so again, it was a lot of back and forth. So she had sent me a lot of different like reference photos of each of the family members, you know, sort of at like different angles, that type of thing, so I could get familiar with the faces. Um, and then I guess obviously you want a cartoon version of a person, so it's almost like a caricature in a way, where you really have to like look at the reference and kind of pick out like what the defining features are, because you also don't want too much detail. So you kind of need to see like what is it that really makes this person's face like unique. um, so yeah, then I just do a few sort of versions and then send it back to her, because obviously she's very familiar with the faces. She can immediately see um, a lot better than I can if it is resembling the person. And then she'd say, oh no, maybe make the jawline a little bit sharper, or the nose a little bit bigger, or whatever kind of thing like that. So it was just sort of basic sketches and a lot of different iterations to sort of get to the final point. But that is what I started with first. Actually, was doing the character designs before I put them in any of the compositions and stuff.
Yeah, I see. Because like I do a bit of like art sometimes and sketching and all, but like I do very struggle like imitating the faces, because I guess it's about the practice, and like I haven't get gotten time dedicatedly to do it, and that's why I respect
Yeah, it's
people like who
difficult.
are able to do this.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely it's a lot of practice, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so like before, like again, there are many of them, and like each of them blew my mind separately, and we'll talk about it particularly. But like, I wanna read a sort of poem which you wrote in your LinkedIn bio, and like it is a very good description. Like, I am a storyteller. When a story whispers, I listen. If it needs an identity, I'll design. If it's call for imaginary, I'll illustrate imagery. I'll illustrate. If it craves life, I'll animate. If it seeks a voice, I'll write. I am all of these and yet none. I become what the story needs, shaping, molding, crafting until it speaks, sings, and dances. Tell me Let me tell your story using the right combination of creativity and technique to bring it to life in a way that's uniquely yours. So, I mean, like, how are you able to do uh, like poetry also, and like uh, yeah, let me get the words right. The poetry, the illustrations, the drawing, and also editing. Like, how are you able to do it?
Um, I think that for me is like I've kind of just created my own like niche, I guess. Everyone is always talking about like niches and you think it's like super, super specific. But like how I think about a niche is it can span over so many different things, but it's a combination of like that person's specific like strengths, all sort of put into one like sort of cohesive identity,
Yeah.
I guess. Um, and yeah, what I've tried to do and what I'm still trying to do, like this is probably my like biggest focus right now, since I'm sort of just starting out, is finding a way to blend all of like my interests, because these are all of the things that I love and I've always loved. Like I remember when I was younger, there was a point when I wanted to be a writer. There was a point where I was like, no, I'm just going to illustrate, or I want to go into animation or graphic design. So I've wanted to do a bit of all of these things, um, and it's like I think this is why I'm also currently like finding myself as a freelancer, because I I can't just do one. Like I really like the combination and the variety. So yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like skills that I'm constantly working on because it's things I love to do. And yeah, just trying to sort of blend all of these into my own sort of like artistic identity, I guess.
Yeah, and like tell me about this, because like I did understand it because I saw your work, and like how are you able to do every aspect. But like, can you tell how you made this poem, and if it is actually a poem or not?
It is a poem. Yeah, it is a poem. Actually something I did quite recently. Um, and it came like I so specifically remember writing this. Like it was just one night, like super late at night, and I was just thinking about all of the things I had been doing, and Build Space had just finished. So I was kind of just checking in with myself and saying, okay, what is the next step? Where do I want to go with all of this? Um, so for me, like it was sort of like a period of like reflection. And I like to think about things a lot. And for me, like the best way to like understand my thoughts and express these is through writing and poetry specifically. So I just sort of started writing out my thoughts and like what I was feeling. And this whole time I was thinking, I was like, okay, I have all of these things that I like to do, but I don't want to limit myself to one. But at the same time, if I want to have like a successful like brand or like, you know, like my own sort of studio, I need like a thread, you know, like I can't just have all of these things scattered everywhere. And then I kind of took a step back and I was like, what is the one thing that all of these have in common? You know, these are just mediums, these are just ways I do things, but what is like the one thing that I do across all of these mediums? And I realized that this was storytelling. So that's why,
Oh,
like at the end, I say, like, let me tell your story in whatever medium it needs, because I can do a bunch of different things. But for me, that is like the sort of overarching thing that brings all of these together is I'm telling a story, whether I'm drawing it, whether I'm writing it, whether I'm animating it or designing it, you know, that's just sort of a more like an approach, like it's a for how to tell the story. But at the end of the day, through each of these things, that's what I'm doing. So I'm a storyteller, really, and I just use art to tell my stories.
yeah. And like storytelling is a bit creativity, and like people have their perspective on how they approach it. What is creativity to you personally? Because like I myself consider as a creative person, but like I mostly do writing and like creativity which is not able to show like in the physical world, but like through visual design I guess you are able to do it in the physical world. So how is like what is creativity to you?
I think creativity to me is a way of thinking. I think it's a way of like looking at a problem or a situation or anything really, and kind of having a different approach to handling it or portraying it or speaking about it. So I think it really is just a different way of looking at something that most people wouldn't, and maybe noticing things that at surface value you don't get, you know. Um, I think that's sort of what creativity is to me, and experimentation and sort of like trusting the process for me is like a big thing. Um, and sort of just like starting something and figuring it out along the way and being like playful and experimental and looking at like the sort of like overlooked things, and just like pulling something out of whatever, whether it's a problem or a conversation or anything like that, like pulling something unique out of it and saying like, what is it about this thing that's like so interesting or so challenging, and then yeah, finding a way to address that or express it.
Okay. And like how do you expand your creativity? Because like there are two ways the most people do. Is the first one is a practice, they just do it and it like naturally evolves in a newer form of creativity for them. And second is uh, a bit less practice, but they are able to like understand how their personally creativity works, so that they can replicate it easily and like not do the practice as the first person in the first case. So like how do you personally improve or like build upon your creativity to do it more creatively?
I think so. I think what like helps me is I definitely I feel like I've gone through both of these phases. I think the first one, like with the practice, I think through, studying and university and all of that, that was a lot of practice. And I think sort of just like getting those foundational skills and everything at like a decent sort of level where you then can take that knowledge and those skills and push it further. And I think like when you push it further, it's a very like personal thing. I think like what makes something really like uniquely creative is the idea of just like being very true to yourself. Uh, and obviously like it's great to like take inspiration. I'm constantly looking for inspiration and like consuming it, and definitely influences my work, and it opens my mind to things that can be done, but then not getting stuck on trying to replicate that exactly, kind of saying like, okay, maybe I can't do that, so I don't know how to do that, but I know how to do things slightly different. And then just sort of like having like confidence in yourself to just trust that you will get there, through just trying out new things and experimenting. I think that's also like a big thing, is just experimenting. Like creativity just comes from trying things, and not being afraid and like holding yourself back. And sometimes it doesn't work out, but sometimes it really does. And I think the more you do it, the more you kind of pick up on like how your creative process grows and the sort of things that you do to like get the creative like juices like flowing type of thing. And that's obviously different for everyone, but yeah, I think it's just sort of like trusting yourself and doing something, and creativity will then just follow.
Yeah. And like, how does the new experiences like affect your creativity? Because for me personally, I guess the more experiences you have, the more creative you are. And like, I'll explain why I think it is like at the later part. But like, how does experiences affect your creativity?
um I think it just broadens your mind and like your perspective. I think the more experiences you have, the more you are exposed to, it's just the more you take in, the more you can put out, kind of thing. And a new experience will just give you a new way of thinking about something, or it makes you feel a way that you haven't felt before, or like it doesn't matter what it is, but with a new experience, that's the whole thing. Like there's something new about it that's unfamiliar. And then through getting familiar with many different things, you obviously have like a bigger pool of just things to work with, because
Yeah.
it's like you can't do something that you don't know. So the more you know, the more you can pull from, I guess.
Yeah. And like, to me personally, how I understand creativity is how well you are able to merge two vastly different ideas. Uh,
Mm,
and like, there was a study to understand what creativity actually is. So like, they understood as a reference of a cat. A cat like has a smaller brain of sorts as compared to humans. So like, all the inputs from all the senses come from the like the front of the brain to like the back of the brain, and because the distance is very less, the creativity aspect is not like that high. I mean, they are intelligent, yes, but
mm,
like the humans have a whole different level. And like, in humans, when all the senses come from the like the front, it is stored in the middle, and like, when they are processed at the back of the brain, uh, all those signals, all those information is like sorted and like merged and like again ripped apart. So the distance, that why we have more of a creativity. So that's why I think it is basically how well you are able to merge two vastly different ideas. And it is
Mm,
a like a tangent I want to add to. In text it is very easy to do this like merging and ripping apart. That's why the first that's why AI is able to replicate creativity in text very better and fast than other senses. But yeah, the
that makes
like
sense.
yeah, do you resonate with what I say about how creativity is
Yeah, completely.
fundamentally?
Yeah, I think it's that, like, I love how you put that, like the sort of like making a connection between two very different ideas. Um, and how I was saying previously, with obviously everyone has something that can like spark their creativity, or you like as you get to know yourself and how you work, you can kind of recognize this and replicate it. Um,
Yeah,
so for me, what I like to do when I'm like feeling a bit stuck is one thing that I did quite recently is I made this random poster, and I actually asked AI to just give me like any sort of like topics, um, and I got a dinosaur disco. So
yeah,
I had
disco
like a
dinosaur.
dinosaur disco and a
Yeah,
poster. Yeah.
I saw your
Um,
process.
so thank you. Yeah. So it's kind of like it's just random things that when you sort of forced to find like common ground or find like a big difference and like show that or whatever, it's like you have to be creative to make that connection. So I think that's such a good that you made. I definitely can relate to that.
Yeah, I'll share.
That's the one.
Yeah, I'll start from like one sec.
Mm.
I mean, this is one of those videos of your like the art videos explainer, which I really like very much, and like I want to discuss them very deeply. But like this particular is a bit below. Uh, the first ones are your like the work on your Binance thing. Sorry, Behance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the
The
pronunciation.
answer.
Yeah, let me pull that up. So I guess there are many of them, and I wanna personally go through like most of them. So I guess it would be awesome if like we can do every one of them in like 5 to 6 minutes.
Okay, cool. Try keep it quick and flowy.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about this one.
Okay, so this one and then another one that will follow is something that I started with at the beginning of this year, and something that I actually want to pick up on again is I started this series actually on TikTok where I decided to give myself a creative challenge of trying out. So on Procreate, the app I use on my iPad to digitally draw, they have like a whole bunch of different brushes, like default brushes that you get. So I decided I want to make a series where I try like every single one of these brushes. Again, it's that like kind of boxing yourself in. So you have to be
Yeah.
creative with what you've got. So this was just one of the brushes, and it had like really, it was really good for line work. Um, so that's sort of where this came from, because I was like, okay, what can I do that I can use these like precise lines and stuff, which really showcase what this brush is best at doing. Um, and then in terms of like, I came up with these things, it was just a sort of random tangent that I went on. There's an artist that does something similar. I can't remember his name now. Um, let me see if I can find it. But he inspired me for some of these, and yeah, so that's what this was.
So yeah, the character thing, is it like you just started and like it ended in a doodle sort of a way, or like they were thought through?
No, it was very much like as I was going. So I started off with very basic like geometric shapes. So like this, before like the body had like the teeth and stuff, I literally just had like a cube, and then some other like geometric shapes like around it. And then once I had that base, then I was like, okay, how can I like modify this a little bit and like curve some lines, like add some details. So yeah, but you just started off with like a basic shapes that I then fleshed out to be these like weird characters.
Yeah, I mean, to me personally, I guess it is very unique to do it actually. And like, I guess if you know the ending part, which is the shading and the coloring, how well your initial foundation is in terms of, as you said, the shapes, it is like the end product is very good and unique.
Thank you. Yeah. That's the thing. Like I didn't know exactly what I wanted it to look like at the end, and I just kind of trusted the process, and yeah, have that solid like foundation of sketches, and then it's so easy to like build on that.
Yeah, I read this book and it is like a bit funny. It is a short story of sorts, but yeah, how does it
Mm.
that did it start?
So this was actually a project that I did in my third year of university, um, and I can't even remember what the brief was. I think it was something about like past, present, and future, or something along those lines. So then I came up with this idea of this time traveling bunny. And then obviously you have to choose like an age range. So I thought, yeah, I would like to do a kid's book because it's quite fun. There are a lot of visuals, and
Yeah,
this is very mixed media. So I did a lot of digital drawings, and then I would like paint. Like if you look at like the like rocks and the like pathway or whatever, you can see it's very like it's got like paint streaks and stuff. So I
yeah,
literally just like paint like colors that I like to on another piece of paper and then scan that, and
okay.
then took it all into Photoshop and added like a clipping mark over it. Um, so that was kind of my process with this. This was, yeah, very much like physical and digital combined to be this like mixed media, illustrative book.
Yeah, this planet is also, I guess, it is a painted and then cut and then scanned.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, how did you create the story in particular?
Um, it was I obviously just had like the idea of okay, I want this time traveling bunny. So then I decided, okay, how many different sort of like time periods do I want to travel to?
Yeah,
I think there ended up being like 6 maybe. And then I'd go past, and then the next one would be present, or like future, and then go back in time, forward in time, to then kind of end up like in the middle. Um, so yeah, once I had that, then I just had to figure out like which time periods those were. I took like major like milestone points, I guess, like dinosaurs and like very much like jetpack, cloud, futuristic kind of thing.
yeah,
Um, and then just coming up with like little worlds and scenes for all of that, and just using this bunny and putting him in every different scene. Um, so yeah, once I had that initial idea done and the different time periods sorted, actually fleshing out the story was not too difficult because I knew where it was going.
yeah. I mean, it is also a child's, so I guess it was a bit easier and fun to like complete it.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. There's not too much text, which I think helped a lot.
I mean, I can go on and on for a particular like work, but again, the podcast has its constraints.
Yeah, we got quite a few to get through still.
Yeah, yeah, the sticker man.
But this one, so with that other one with the different brushes,
Yeah,
this was another one in that same series. So I think looking at these like side by side gives you a really good idea of what I was trying to do with the whole brush thing. Um, and using the brush and its like properties to sort of determine the kind of art I made. Like this one, it was, I actually hated this brush when I first started using it, because there was no precision. It was very streaky, and it was like quite difficult to use. Um, so it meant that I had to have like these sort of thick, blocky, like a little bit messy kind of outlined characters with not a
it
lot of
is
detail
crayon of
and
sorts.
realism. Sorry?
It is a crayon of sorts, right? The brush.
Yes. Yeah. It definitely is a very like crayon type of thing. So yeah, because I had to work within the limits of this brush, this is how I felt it was best used. Um, so again, I just sort of started drawing some things, and I'd like start with literally just like lines of like the basic like body shapes, and then color out like a block around it. And I was like, oh, these kind of look like stickers. And I was like, okay, let me work with this idea and add like more little stickers around it, and then go in with like some more details and just like adding a few little elements. But yeah, so that was again part of the brush series.
Yeah. And like I forgot to ask in this book, the story one, uh, like how are you able to like capture the picture of the book? Is it like a physical book which you photographed, or like it is a digital tool?
So that is actually a mock-up of a book, but I do
Okay.
actually have a printed version of it as well, because I was also part of the project. Is we had to get it printed and then hand bind the book itself. Um, but I didn't take photos of the actual book. I instead just used a digital mock-up.
Okay. And tell me about this one. Like, is it a fictional or like it did actually happen? Because the vibe
This
is
was
like
fictional.
I like it very much. It is like a spunky of sorts and like music. Yeah, it is very interesting. And like
Thank
if the
you.
final product does have a glitter and a shimmer in it, it would be like elevated the design.
Yeah, that would be so cool. Yeah, this was. I wish it was real. No, this is fictional. Because at the beginning of this year, after I graduated, I didn't actually have a portfolio, so I had to make one. And obviously, to get clients, like, you need a portfolio. So I didn't have any work to show, so I was like, okay, I have to just sort of make something up that I can at least showcase my skills. So I started with like, okay, I want to make the kind of work that I want to get. So like, this is a project in real life that I would love to do. I thought, okay, well, let me like, I'll do it then, and then hopefully I can at some point get a project like this. So yeah, this is all fictional. Like, all the names and stuff aren't real, but I approached it as if it was like a real project, and all the sort of things that would be like associated with this thing, like the tickets and like some merch and a poster, that kind of thing. So yeah, it
I
was a
mean,
really fun
this
one. I
is
enjoyed
like,
it.
it is very good that I actually wanna come in this particular one. Like, it is very interesting visually of sorts, and like in match with the vibe.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, let's hope one day we can go to this this event.
Yeah, because actually having this theme of a concert, like, it would be good. And like, maybe if you
Mm,
can design the whole vibe of a band, like upcoming band, it would be awesome if it is in
yeah, I'd
this.
love to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. I guess on to the next one. This one.
Another book, yeah. So I told you I did my honors in illustration. So one of the modules that we had was narrative illustration. So we had to do a book, and again, I wanted to do a children's book, but this was a much longer project, so obviously
Yeah.
had a lot more time. And I also, the age of the for the children, I wanted to do a little bit older so it could have a little bit more detail. Um, this took really, really long. um, Obviously, coming up with the whole concept, I actually was based off of someone I knew, a little 10-year-old boy. So we had a lot of chats about it. And like, while I did actually end up writing all of it, through all of the conversations we had, I definitely took a lot of inspiration from like all of his ideas and like his imagination. Like, it's crazy how much like kids can think about like random like creative ideas. Um, so yeah, that was my sort of like starting point. And then I fleshed it out, and this was all done by hand. So I think that's why it also took really, really long. This was all hand painted. So it was a very, very time consuming project, but
Yeah.
I was very happy
And
with the result.
this character with the red mouth, it is, I guess, in
Mm,
the clay animation also, right?
yes. Yeah, that was the project that followed. I sort of built up on that guy. Wayfinder is his name. Um, yeah.
Yeah, we'll play it too when it turns comes. But like,
Okay.
this is
Cool.
so much visually appealing that it would be like awesome to have it in my library of books, because it does have some designs also. Uh, like, the whole work of art. I don't know the particular phrase which it has, but it is like a Disney's book in which they have the artwork of the movie itself, the animated one.
Mm,
So like, that idea with this would be like very awesome if you can have more paragraphs of sorts.
yeah. Yeah. I would definitely like to sort of build on this, I think. And there's so many characters that I could do like, almost like spin-offs from as well, which could
Yeah.
be really, really cool. Yeah.
Is your pet speaking? I guess.
Sorry.
Is it your pet speaking? The dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, cool. Yeah. This one, it is a design, a font, I guess.
Yes. This was again. This was a university project. We just had to come up with a fictional brand, and kind of capturing like our take on design and who we are as designers. So
Okay.
I really like the idea of like this sort of like inquisitive, like experimental kind of like it's a riddle, you got to figure it out. That was my sort of approach to this. Again, it was a very short project, but it was quite a fun one to do.
I mean, it does add to a portfolio because it shows your vastness.
Yeah, especially for like design projects,
Yeah.
for sure.
Tell me about this one in a bit brief because there are another topics which I want to go in deep.
Again, this was a fictional thing that I did. So I used a bunch of photography that I'd done, and kind of just put it into different formats. This here that you can see, the neonscapes, that actually I made on Blender, which I started teaching myself at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
So this was me kind of just experimenting with type and like rendering and like materials and stuff. So I guess this was a more like experimental, like trying out some new skills and sort of putting it together into one whole kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we can skip these two. Uh, yeah, this one. It is like a posture of sorts, and like what I saw, the vibe changes a bit. Like here. So like, can you tell me what was going on?
So this was also part of my when I was studying, when I was doing illustration specifically.
Okay.
We were obviously encouraged to try like a lot of different styles and that type of thing. So again, like I always like to let the medium I'm working with sort of dictate the outcome. So a lot of these were collaged, which obviously gives it like a different feel. And then if you actually look at the third one there, the like pink guy with the like mouth, that is actually where I got that's Wayfinder. So he was a character that I randomly did here that I was like, oh, like I like this idea, like this could be really cool. And then I put him into my book, and then I later made that stop motion animation out of him. But that's actually where he started. So yeah, I think all of these are very like it was painting and collaging. And then as you go down, you'll see like all those ones in black. That was when I was playing around with spray paint. So obviously it
Okay.
gives a very different feel. And I actually just used like plants and things that I'd like spray over, and
Yeah, I
it'd like
see.
kind of give like silhouettes. Yeah, very very experimental. All of this stuff was very experimental, which I like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess children in particular, they also do a lot of experiments per se about art and different things. But I guess the main thing is doing things in a project sort of manner and like completing it and putting it in a professional sort of way. So as to like also remember, and if you are doing professionally, it tells a lot about how you are able to do things and approach it.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Like that's the thing with experimenting. Like you can experiment, but you gotta have like an end point, you know, and
Yeah.
actually you can make something out of it, you know. really get something out of that whole process.
Yeah, and doing it
Yeah.
in fun and like actually taking the endpoint, it is like the endpoint also it really helps.
Definitely.
Yeah, again, your very artistic, different side.
Very, very, very different.
in
I think
illustration. Yeah.
this is what I enjoy the least.
Okay.
It's very realistic, and it's a technical skill that I have. Um, but for me, there's no like experimentation or trying anything different or any sort of like conceptual aspect to it. It's just drawing what you see, which sometimes is great. Like I do enjoy it a little bit, but I do get a little bit bored with this kind of thing. Um, so obviously it's a great skill to have, and I'm glad I have gone through like and endured these processes, because even when you're doing something more conceptual or creative or abstract, to still
Yeah.
have these like fundamental skills gives you, then you have the abilities to do anything. So yeah.
Yeah, what I can imagine with this bone one is that like you remember you did uh it was like I cannot explain it. It was in your reels, and in which you were posed like this, and like which you animated it in layers. Yeah, and it
Yes,
had a mystery board in front of her, so like you can use it there using the human parts as a murder mystery of sorts, and like it always adds a layer to a story when you are like taking
exactly.
this particular one in which the detective has to like join the pointers of the story. So I guess it would be very useful there, and again unique in itself.
Exactly. So all of it like bleeds into each other, and everything
Yeah.
has its use. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I like journalists very much as compared to specialists, because even if you are
Mhm.
able to do 2 to 3 steps in a particular topic in journalists, you are able to like multiply it when used with different topics. Like if you're getting my point,
Mhm.
if you are a specialist, you
Yeah.
are only able to like go in one particular aspect.
Yeah, that's true. The scope is so much smaller.
Yeah. It is a
Yeah.
video, I guess. I'll play it. One sec. I mean, again, I liked it very, very much. So,
Thank you. This took very, very long.
Hmm? Uh, I have an idea. Maybe a game can fix it. Ooh.
this was a aha moment for me. I mean, I am a bit of a shy person, so I won't show my actual uh, like expressions which I had when I like saw it for the first time. But yeah, it was really mind-boggling and like god level to me as an audience.
Oh, thank you. I really, really do appreciate that. Yeah, it's this process specifically takes so long
Yeah,
because I did everything from like beginning to end. I think I ended up with like over 700 photos, I think, was for like the whole video length. But yeah, it was tough. But like I really love how it turned out, and I'm so happy I actually stuck with it and finished it and went through all of that. Um,
yeah, it was worth
but
it,
yeah,
and the music was like on another level.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to say thank you at every part, it would be like a very number of times for you. But yeah, and yeah, I'll do this party animal. It was also very good when he particularly took that pill of sorts. But yeah,
Mm.
I'll, I'll play it. The transitions are aha.
Shoes come off and freaks come out.
Yeah, this one again.
Shoes come off and freaks come out.
I mean, I don't know. The beats may be like very basic for you, but to as an audience, they are like amazing. Yeah, tell me
I'm glad.
what was the like idea behind using animals?
So this again was a university project, but this I was younger. This I was second year, I think, and this was like the first like big, big scale animation I've done, and we had to draw from like an experience we'd had. So in my first year of studying, I worked at a bar, and like the whole idea was based around my experience with like when everyone's drinking and partying and whatever, they literally turn into animals. And it's like party animals. And then kind of like stereotyping a little bit, like the peacock, like obviously it was someone with like a lot of money, just kind of like showing off, like
Yeah,
peacock does. Um, and then so that was kind of like the stereotype there, and then like a bit of a cat fight, and the like big like predator like animals being like a group of guys that are like looking for some goals and like some like fresh meat kind of thing, whatever. So very much like stereotyping that and kind of drawing this comparison between like clubbing and like the whole like party scene and like animals in the wild, and saying like it's kind of the same. So that's where that came from.
I mean, and the
Yeah.
beats, like, are you do you occasionally do music? And like, was it particular for this and the other one?
So this one I actually just used songs that I found. So none of this was made. I do credit it at the end.
Okay.
But yeah, so this was all existing things. For the other one, I actually worked with someone who could do that kind of stuff. So I kind of like said like, this is the vibe I'm going for, and then we sat and like listened to a bunch of different sounds, and he put it together for me to make that cool song. So yeah, a bit of sound design.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess this is the last one we should talk about. Again, keeping the time. If anyone wants to do it, I'll like put all of this work in the description.
Okay,
But
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
this particular one, is it like a game of sorts or just an illustration?
It's just an illustration, but this was part of a much bigger project, and this was very much like into research stuff. So I wrote my thesis on human technology interactions and like relationships. So that's something that I was like diving into like the whole year. So I was obviously reading a lot of theoretical stuff and watching a lot of like documentaries, like the coded bias and those kind of things.
Social
And
Dilemma,
then I would
the movie or documentary.
yes, I watched that one as yeah. So I was really looking at all of that sort of stuff. This 10 minutes on social media was sort of like an experiment that I ran myself, where I looked at like on my feed on various platforms, so I had like Instagram and Facebook and whatever, looking at the ads that I would get, and like within 10 minutes of being on the app, how many ads I would scroll past, and posts that were recommended by the algorithm, and just looking at this whole idea of how much control the algorithm and everything has, and like echo chambers and that sort of idea. With we get very it can potentially make us very close-minded because we're just shown more of the same the whole time. So obviously like on your feed you get people that you actually follow and that you actually want to see their stuff, but there's so much that is just like shoved in your face and that you don't necessarily determine what that's going to be. You don't necessarily say I want to see that, but you get shown it. That's what all of this was looking at. So it's just sort of infographics digesting all of these ideas and this research.
Yeah, I mean, in summary, it was a research topic, and like you did it with like as an aspect of design also.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay. Yeah, I guess that's the work on your Behance one, and there are a bit on your Instagram, which I also. Do you like talk like tell me about the Emma show, and you haven't posted any new video on the Emma
No, I
show?
haven't yet. I know. So by the time that this episode comes out, my episode will be coming out. I'm actually releasing it next week. I've just been away, so I haven't been able to post it, but I finished it finally. I think it's around 2.5 minutes long, and I'm just all I have to do now is finish the credits, and then it's done and ready to go. So it's the last lizard. So yeah.
Yeah.
decided to get that out there. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was my like world space project.
Like, can you tell me why did you choose this particular, like choosing your fighter sort of thing?
Weeks ago, I was officially in for season 5 of.
Yeah, you're going.
Again, it was just
You said
it was like the ideas I've been telling you about, like that poem that I wrote about being a designer and an illustrator and all of these different things, but how does it all come together?
Yeah.
So I actually wrote that like shortly after doing this. I guess this was like the like tipping point for me, where I was kind of like, I just need to be me. I just need to do the things that I like doing, and it will all come together, kind of thing. So I think that was where this all came from. And I had so much that I wanted to show in such a short period of time. Obviously, because this video had to be a certain length. I think it was a minute.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with like a creative way to showcase this. And I wanted to like give a good like insight into the whole process of how I did it, you know, like adding the sound and like piece by piece, you know, the color like layers and all of that type of thing. So yeah, I felt like this was the best way to sort of communicate that.
Yeah, and like talking about your intro, I'll play it one sec.
Hi, I'm Emma. Hi, I'm Emma. I'm Emma. I'm Emma. I'm gonna show you a few sneak peek videos of what kind of stuff we do on
The Emma Show. So 16 years ago, I had hours of footage of the Emma Show that never left my camera roll. Now, 16 years, 2 degrees, and the invention of social media later, I finally get to share the Emma Show with the world. I'm joining Build Space Season 5 of Nights and Weekends, where I'm creating a series of animated shorts called The Emma Show. Stay tuned.
A stripper stole my wedding ring?
I'm reporting live from what should be a bright and sunny morning to bring you some dark news. The sun is missing. We've received confirmation that this is not an eclipse or any known astronomical phenomenon. Our experts are monitoring the sky for any sign of the sun, and we will continue to keep you updated as more information becomes available. For now, the whereabouts of the sun remain unknown.
Okay, this particular video is from your like previous recordings, I guess, which you talked about.
Well, these were all almost like, it's the build up to the episode that I'm about to release. So these are like prequels to the whole story. Because I actually don't like my episode, like the actual first episode, The Last Lizard, is continuing. It's like picking up from all of this. Like I don't say any of this in the episode. It's just kind of like the sun has gone and this is what life is like now. So these are all just sort of setting the scene for the episode to come, and then little bits of it as well. I've like put some like scenes and stuff up as well.
Morty, Love, Death and Robots, or Black Mirror, then you should probably check out The Emma Show. This new web series features standalone episodes, with each episode having its own bizarre, unique storyline in dystopian and sci-fi worlds. First episode's coming out soon, so stay tuned and drop in here or on YouTube to watch The Emma Show.
And like, what is your like inspiration from the Rick and Morty and the other two which you talked about, and the whole Adult Swim vibe which you want, I guess?
I think the biggest inspiration, obviously, the fact that it's an animated series and it's more of like an adult show as opposed to like kids cartoons. But I think it's why I really like Adult Swim is it's just so bizarre. Like it's really weird. The most random things happen, and that's what I really like. It's so interesting, and I'm always like, whoa, like, how did they even think about this? Like, who came up with the plot for this episode? It is so strange. And some of the ideas that I have for episodes are also just very random, and just kind of fun, and in worlds that like don't exist, and like anything can happen. So I think that's where I like take that inspiration from Adult Swim. So yeah,
Yeah,
big fan.
because yeah, I also have seen all the three episodes, the things which you talked about, and I did particularly like the Rick and Morty one because of again the art and the absurdities in which they do go, and like how they approach whole of the sci-fi aspect of it. Like it is among the favorites one which I have.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
It's just it keeps you on your toes.
yeah, you go
Yeah.
on.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can go on. Like I guess after it, it will be a last of a question.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to specifically add to that. Is there anything else you want to know specifically, maybe about the episode, or my like stylistic influences?
I mean, yeah, I'll like I am excited for the next episode which you will be posting. But like lastly, I want to talk about the dancing fonts which you did. One sec. I mean, you made the fonts dance. It is awesome.
So random. Thank you. Again, it's so experimental and just fun, random things that I never planned to do. That's not. I was actually making a font for an episode and the last lizard thing, and like I just accidentally, like I showed in the beginning, like I accidentally just pulled only a part of the letter, and I was like, oh, that was kind of cool. And then I literally just started like playing around with it, and I was like, oh, this is quite fun. That's how it happened. Like it literally was just purely by accident that I ended up making that whole thing.
Yeah. And now a bit out of place question, I guess. I saw your like the personal Instagram which you have there, and like the whole vibe of the posting photos, it is like very good, particularly. And like I personally haven't been able to achieve that on my particular one, because like I had seen it in my like elder brother's Instagram. Like I did like it, and I thought maybe if I would have it, I would have in this particular sense. So like yours is in that sense. So like how do you approach uh, like clicking your photos and uploading it, and like the decision, I mean, in between? Uh, First of all, tell me, did you get my question? Like what am I?
Yes, I do understand.
Yeah.
I think I sort of just have a kind of like aesthetic almost, and like a sort of overarching vibe of the kind of things I post. And I do think about it. It's something that just like happened by accident. Like I'm intentional with it, and like which photos I'll put first that are going to be on like the grid profile and whatever, just to sort of keep like similar colors. And it like as you scroll, like obviously it goes through like periods that it will change, But for like, you know, I don't know, like 9 blocks or something, I'll sort of have like a distinctive type of thing. I really like black and white as well, like in between. I feel like sort of neutralizes things, and can like bring things together. And then just balancing, like I have a lot of like dear, like colorful kind of things with more like simplistic, plain photos that it's that subtle like contrast that's going on. But I'm very like conscious about, it's the designer in me that I'm like, it's got to have a good layout, you know, colors are going to work, all of that kind of thing. So yeah, visual harmony.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not the designer in me. That's why I'm not able to do that particularly. But yeah, I'm always looking for like improving the grid in general, and like the my personal one which I have right now. I mean, it may be the best one which I have had for years. But yeah, again, it's a very niche topic. Uh,
Mm.
like it is the ending of sorts of this episode, and there are many things again we can go deeper and that can be talked about like in further episodes with you. And I guess I also do write, so I can maybe send you a story of and you can like throw in your design perspective, and like it would be interesting to see
Yeah,
what
that'd be
comes out
so
of it.
cool. Yeah, that'd be really cool. Actually, I have a few collabs lined up, with some people that I met on Build Space doing a similar kind of thing. So yeah, I think we should. Why not? You know, give it a go. See what we can come up with together.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
particularly reason why I talked about many of your designs is like many people do see artists, and but they fail to understand why they are what they are. So like it was basically a grasp to understand your particular creativity. I mean,
Yeah, thank
time
you
will only
for
tell.
giving me the opportunity to voice it and sort of explain all my processes and why I think the way I do and why I make the things I make.
I mean, time will tell how much I was able to do it to grasp your perspective. But yeah, it was an honor to have you. And like,
Thank you for having me.
what you are doing right now, what would you wanna say to your younger self who just started doing art? Uh, yeah,
Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Like you can do it. Just do it. Work with what you got, and literally just start. Just do it. I think that's what held me back for so long, is thinking, oh, I'm not good enough. You know, the classic like imposter syndrome kind of thing. But like everything that I thought was a weakness is actually such a strength, and it's what actually makes my stuff uniquely. So just trust it
yeah,
and just roll with it. Just do your thing, and the right people will find it and be like, how about that? Like that resonates with me. So yeah.
yeah. Any ending remarks you wanna give?
Um, Nothing in particular. Yeah, thank you again for this opportunity, and it was really great chatting to you. Um, and yeah, all the best with the rest of your episodes.
Yeah. So I guess we can end with that. And to like to summarize it in a bit, there is a quote which I particularly like. If you have a great idea and you pursue it long enough, you are able to achieve it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
I'll
that.
stop the I'll stop the recording.
Cool.